So that should be good. So I think, you know what, I've got a bunch of bullet points from agents and coaches and et cetera I've been talking to over the past couple weeks here. From what I've seen talking about this very subject, a lot of it is, you know, remembering to do the basics and do them well, obviously, but there's some real creativity and other things out there that I think can really help generate business. Obviously, we got some amazing people on this call and some master coach advice coming your way as well through Nate, et cetera. But maybe we just open up with what are you all running into as far as objections or challenges? In particular, I mean, I get it if you're just not sure where to even approach for a listing, but especially if you're talking to folks that are potentially going to list, but have reservations, you know, and so it's like you can't quite convert them into inventory yet. What are y'all running into out there?
I think the biggest, I think the biggest thing is finding something else, being afraid of, selling quickly and not really being able to secure something else in a timely fashion.
Right. That's definitely a huge one I've heard out there. Anything else from left field out there, or everyone else just hands up saying, yeah, me too on that?
That's a me too. I have lots of buyers with things to sell, but they won't sell until they can identify what they're going to get. So it's a catch-22. Same thing.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's probably where we'll end up focusing. Obviously, if someone else has a different take on it, you know, certainly put it out there. But that's absolutely the biggest thing I've heard. So that's kind of what I was thinking about chatting about here today. So I think two parts here, right? If we've got the buyers, where do we find them inventory? And if we've got potential inventory, how do we actually get it to list, right? I think those are the couple pieces there. That in particular is not a whole lot different than normal. Obviously, the circumstances are different from normal. You know, I've got, like I said, a bunch of stuff I can talk about here, but let's just jump in with some of the mastermind initially. I mean, Nate, you and I talked about this a little bit. What are some of your go-tos if you do have someone that sits there and says, yeah, I want to put on the market, but what am I going to do? I think a lot of your clients might be higher price point. Maybe they can go out and get something else first, which of course that's great. That's ideal, right? But if not, where do you typically go with that?
Well, you know, it's definitely a difficult situation, right? So I've had some clients that have gone out and sold their house and they've moved into a rental. You know, the small little house rentals that we see being built all over town, they have a pretty good. You need to find out where there's inventory to put people in on a short term. And a lot of places will rent 1, 2, 3 months, and it escapes me. It's not Taylor Morris, but there's a small, you know what I'm talking about, the single level communities.
Those little homes, they're building them all over the
Somebody
place.
help me with the name of the something Todd, or I forget the name.
Not Mark Taylor. Chris Todd, no.
Yeah, something like that. Chris Todd or
Monique was right. It's Hancock Homes, but Mark Taylor Properties does the management.
Yeah, I've seen there's a couple of them.
Yeah. Well, anyway, just I think the key is finding places that now your people are going to have to do a double move if they don't have, right? And that's probably the biggest thing. So at the end of the day, if I'm counseling you and you're a seller and you want to buy, but you can't buy unless you sell, you're in a really tough catch-22. The good news is I managed to sell a few properties with a little bit longer close of escrow. And also I've sold some properties where we've had our sellers do a post-possession agreement. Because of the market, I think when you get multiple offers, that is where you can negotiate on your seller's behalf to get that extended stay, if you will.
Post-possession, right.
Yeah. And if you can't get it there, then it's letting them know that there are places that they can rent. And that's the key. You have to have the end place for them to go. I have a guy that's ready to sell, not ready to sell, but because of COVID, he's really freaked out, you know, about having people come in his house and then also go out into the shopping mode. So that's that's a whole different set of objections.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say for the most part, just trying to make people feel comfortable that there is a place for them to go during the interim process. And if they don't want to do a double move, there's a good possibility they're not going to move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll say one big thing that I took away that was a little outside the box, because again, I think we get used to what our talking points are, right? As we're working with these people in a quote unquote normal market. Well, normal is whatever the market is, right? But one thing that kept coming back to me is just recognizing the abundance that's out there with what's potential, right? And then getting into curiosity and being creative about it. So if you've got someone, just ask the questions, right? Why are they concerned about it? Are they concerned about doing a double move like Nate said? Are they concerned about the amount of time it's going to take to find something? Is it a COVID concern? What is it? And then look for those creative solutions. So, he mentioned post-possession, right? That's one of those things, or a proper lent back or lease back, that kind of thing. But the thing is, I think ask your potential sellers what they might be interested in, because as much as it's a seller's market, that kind of helps them on the buy side. If from the selling side, you try to leverage it, like you said, a longer close date, that kind of thing. But what if a condition of the sale is a 90-day lease back? I mean, again, like that could cause you a little bit of challenge on the listing side, maybe, but it being the market such as it is, why not? If something like that makes them feel more comfortable, why not try it? I think that's the biggest thing, is don't have a limited belief going out there and think, oh, well, something like that would never work. Well, wouldn't it? Be open with them and say, hey, well, we could try that. If that would make it possible for you to do what you'd like to do, I don't know exactly how likely it is, but I think we got a good shot in this market more so than any other. Do you want to give it a shot? Same thing on the price side. I would never, of course, say to go out there and overprice something. But what if what makes them be more okay with doing a double move or a lease or something like that is, hey, I need an extra 20 grand out of it. If I had that extra 20 grand, then I'd be fine and living somewhere else for 6 months, et cetera. Okay, let's see if we can get that. If we can get that, does that make sense for you to list? I think that's the biggest takeaway I had from all the people and all the creative solutions they had, was just getting into curiosity and asking those questions, and then see, is there something we can try?
Okay.
Who's had success when talking to somebody off the ledge?
Looks like nobody.
Is that why we're all here?
I don't know. I mean, I'm doing it every day. I mean, that's the process. We got to get people moving, And again, if we can't get them moving, guess what? They're not moving. Right?
I mean, I've had success on the buy side, you know what I mean? Just from, getting people into just new builds here recently. But as far as on the list side, right now, I actually got a listing that I'm like, oh God, I asked for a listing. But boy, did he give me a listing. I mean, it's electric blue, the color of the house. At 38th and McDowell.
Oh, that's my hood.
Yeah, right.
That's where I came from.
I know.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, okay. And so I went and checked it out. It's same thing. I mean, my guy, he has some equity in the house. I sold it to him about almost 3 years ago, but I was like, I need to reach out to, some of my people and be like, I need some guidance on this thing. First of all, I'm like, listen, Tommy, I know you like this house. I know you like this color, but dude, it's blue. It's electric blue.
You know what? Here's what I've learned. Right? See all this gray hair? Right? That's 35 years of selling real estate. We have to get out of our own way.
Okay.
Everything I've learned up until this year, I have to throw out the window.
Okay.
Right? So don't put your feelings on, right?
Okay.
The culture of the people that live at 38th Avenue in McDowell, blue's fine.
I love it.
It's not a problem, right? So
Okay.
my mother's house, which was on 40th Avenue in Thomas, that I sold I don't know, 12, 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's still baby blue. It's if I go, it's the same color paint that she had when she sold it.
Okay.
Right. So
And I think in this market, you know, a buyer will buy it so they can get it and throw $1,800 of their favorite color on there.
sure. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
Okay.
matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Don't get
Well,
stressed.
So
yeah,
the key is securing the listing. And I'm going to say something I haven't really said in the last 35 years. At any price,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want a listing appointment right there, right down the street. You can't see my finger right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With Steve. And we told these people to price this house at 900,000. Another realtor, I would say a little more naive, a little bit less experienced, recommended 1,050,000, $150,000 more than me. I know this neighborhood pretty good, right? And at first I was like, yeah, right. They'll never get it, you know? And then I caught myself and I said, all right, Nate, just let's get into curiosity and non judgment and let's watch eagerly what happens with this house. And before it went on MLS, it sold with multiple offers at 1.50, right? 150,000 more than I thought. It's not on the golf course, it actually backs a road. It's a nice home, but it's a $900,000 home all day long. But in today's market, they got 150. So as a realtor, I feel really bad. I know this lady. She walks her dog in front of my house every day. We've had conversations every day. And the fact that I almost deprived her of an extra $150,000 in equity, there's not a comp for 10 miles, right? But comps don't seem to matter anymore,
Make
right?
it matter. I know.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that blue house, that
Yeah.
overpriced listing that you think you're getting,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're overpriced. I mean, because we have never witnessed anything like what's going on in the Phoenix marketplace in the 35 years that I've been around. I've
Mm-hmm.
never seen this much lift, this much strength in the market. So yeah, you
Okay.
can sign that dotted line in blue or pink,
mhm.
it's gone. And houses right now that have bumps or bruises or street lights or busy roads or railroad tracks or freeways, that objection don't exist because there is no
Right.
inventory.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm no Nate Martinez, but I'll tell you the two things that, came to my mind when you mentioned that are one, what I said before and what Nate just said, which is don't harbor a limited belief on it, get out of your own way. Right.
Okay.
And then curiosity. Okay. So let's put it out there. And same deal on pricing, right? If you really feel it's overpriced, get the listing because who knows, and at least if you have it to work with, you got something to work with, then try to figure out what are the potentials there. If you want to hedge a little bit to make sure your expertise still comes through. If it does end up being a problem, you let them know, hey, in a normal market, here's where this would be. If you want to go to that, in this market, I'm certainly willing to try that with you if you'd like. At least you've put the asterisk, right? But you may still get it. But as far as the color specifically too, what are the other solutions? One, think about something like box brownie, right? Spend $15 for them to redo interior, exterior, in Photoshop basically. So you can help people understand, what this would look like in another color if they want to, like we just said, someone may be perfectly thrilled to buy it in that color or slap their own color on it. But worst case is your seller willing to give them a credit for exterior paint after it's probably bid up, right? I mean, right.
Okay.
These are all things that you can definitely,
Okay.
overcome.
Yeah, I think I really do need to get out of my own way. I think really my bigger challenge with that deal is finding him something else, finding him a house, in
Yeah.
this market, you know what I mean? And securing it without his house selling, you know what I mean? Or, with his house selling, so I was planning to, list it and then negotiate for him to have a post possession of at least 30 days.
Mhm.
And so, you know, it's just really nerve-wracking to, you know, put some, you know that, you know, yourself, you know, you're helping this person sell their house. And as an agent, knowing how this buyer's market is, it's not like he's buying like up where, you know, where you're like, okay, well, maybe he, you know what I mean? He's like buying in like probably the 200 range, mid 200 range. And
Mhm.
so it's like, it's just nerve-wracking
Yeah.
that, you know,
It should
going
be.
into that market. I'm like, gosh, I hope we get him something. I don't want to, I feel bad. Like, I'm going to sell his house and if we can't find him anything, that makes me nervous.
Right.
Well, but you know, so you need to ask the question: is he willing to rent until he finds something?
Okay.
Okay, because
Okay.
when you're talking about the mid 200s, I'm like, what? There's actually houses still, right? I mean,
Right.
my condo I bought 12 years ago for $50,000 is worth almost 300.
Yeah.
You know, it's a condo, you know. So
Right.
I'm having a hard time thinking. So much so that I'm pulling up MLS to do a search.
Right.
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 If there is, how many houses are under 300,000? Right.
Right.
I don't think
Not
that.
many. Not many. I mean,
Well, and you know what?
um,
This might not be the best case for it given specific price points and whatnot, but what about things like, you know, bridge loans? You know, Nate and I, we
yeah.
talked very briefly about that, but anyone have a good experience with that recently or any experience?
I've heard about some things.
I couldn't understand what you said, Mike. What did you say?
I was talking about bridge loans so that they can, you know, buy and sell.
Yeah, I've talked to a few lenders and I'm not getting a positive response on that. So resources would be good.
Well, the resources, Roberta, coming from a lender, is they don't do them. Right. You have to go to a bank to get a bridge loan. And lenders don't want to waste their time doing bridge loans. They're also in the biggest boom that they can handle. They can't handle the volume coming through them. So basically, you're going to go to a Wells Fargo, a B of A or something to get a bridge loan, you know, and it's an equity line of credit on their current house. But they still have to qualify for the debt they have on their current house, plus the bridge loan, and then the new loan.
And the new loan. Oh, well, okay.
So yeah, 'cause they still have existing debt there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or we have hard money lenders,
well, you do have hard money lenders. That is true.
16% interest in 90 days, or
Probably closer to 12.
yeah.
12% on hard money.
Okay.
Well, and again, that might normally not be a great solution, but put it in your holster right now, right? It should be another tool to be creative with for sure. And so I guess this is actually a good point to talk about then, like you were saying, especially in that price range for your client, Mike, that's where you need to go out and like, you know, find the house to sell them, right? I mean, what area is he looking at? What do the tax records look like in that area? How long have some of those people been there? Who's maybe free and clear, right? You know, and start soliciting directly on some of that stuff if you need to, you know, door knock if you need to. And
Yeah.
have the same discussions, the same curiosity, the same options for those people if they decide to sell. You know, again, there's things like first.io, right? Take a look at people you know that have been showing some interest. Right now, you never know what that looks like, right? They might be showing interest out there because they're just like, oh my God, what's this market doing? Maybe they don't necessarily intend to buy or sell right now, but even if they're out there curious, that's still a great time for you to talk to them, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's where if there's even the tiniest inkling that they are maybe going to be a lister, then start asking your curious questions. Yeah, it is kind of crazy right now, but it's definitely a seller's market. Hey, what would that look like for you? What would your concern? And then start finding those solutions for them. You know, Nate asked about a win. I'll share one. I'll give you the super abbreviated version. I won't name names because they're not on the call right now. But essentially they had a house under contract. It was looking okay. They had kind of a little bit of cold feet, et cetera, whatever. Anyway, it ended up not coming together. Someone else that was a backup went in there, they got it sold to them. So, you know, they were kind of stuck a little bit, and there was, you know, nothing else really out there available. that met their needs. But this agent was, again, in curiosity. So they went ahead and talked to the lender just to get an idea of like, hey, what did, you know, can they really perform with some of the things they're talking about there? Because, you know, they had a preconceived notion of what they actually needed to have that turned out to be wrong. And they're like, oh yeah, no, these guys are, you know, software executives up from Seattle. You know, they could buy something 3 times that price. They're just looking for the right thing. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I was, you know, I had my stuff stuck in a different price range, that kind of stuff. So they knew someone else who, again, was on the fence about listing because they had some of these concerns and like, hey, I'd need to get, you know, at least this much for it. And, you know, I don't want to move right away. So, yeah, I'm just kind of going to sit on it and ask the questions. Okay, well, what if we could get you that price? And how long do you want to be in the house? Okay, well, honestly, I'd like to be there, you know, until probably like August. Okay, if I can put together that deal for you at that price with you in the house until August, you'd sell? Well, sure. Okay. Contacted the other person again, said, here's what the deal is. You know, are you interested? And they said, yeah, actually, we don't even really want to come down until maybe end of the year. We just kind of wanted to get in before prices were up that much more in 6 months. Deal that came together, wrote it up, sold it to that person directly. The other person's thrilled. They're in the house, you know, for another several months. And, you know, obviously she's going to get the buy side of that one. You know, so I mean, there's opportunity abundance out there, but you have to actually like just ask, just talk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Monique, there's 23 homes for sale between 200,000 and 300,000 within a 3-mile radius of your potential listing. Right? There's not 400, but there's 23. You know, so there's something out there for them. You know.
Yeah.
One of the things I coach a pretty strong team in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right? And this lady that's been a realtor for 6 months has 5 homes where she's representing buyers under contract right now. And the way she got them was she went to a system that kind of like a, you know, like a first, where they can see that there's people out there that have a higher interest in selling. And she just cold called people that met their criteria. You know, I get a text today when I was out golfing and people saying, the text was, how much will you sell your property on Cinnabar for? Right? They're just baiting me to like, all right, give me a number, you know? So being aggressive and getting on the phones with a system like Red X, or I forget the other auto dialer that's out there.
Oh yeah.
Mojo Dialer. You
Mhm.
can literally put a circle in a area and you can put criteria and it'll give you phone numbers to just start calling. And you can call them up and say, hey, look, I'm not trying to list your house, but if you're thinking of selling, I have a buyer that's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in your neighborhood up to 300,000. And that's all she did. She had real buyers. It wasn't BS.
Mhm.
And she brought the buyer to these sellers and put deals together. And she has 5 in escrow. Now you think about that. That's somebody who's been in business less than a year
Mm.
that doesn't have all these filters, you know, why it can't be done.
Mhm.
She's just doing it, making it happen. Right. So any of us can do that. Any of us can get on the phones and start dialing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
As
I get it.
long as you have a bona fide buyer, right? You know, and if you don't have a bona fide buyer, change your script, you know, thinking about selling, now's a good time. And you can move through the process.
Well, what about contacting your sphere too? Like you said, Nate, if you don't have a specific buyer, why don't you contact your sphere about a refi, right? I mean, you know, that can be a service to them. You can save them some money even if they're staying in the home, but it's an easy way to open discussion about, you know,
Mhm.
thinking about the market in general. And, oh, well, hey, you know, good chance for you to refi, but hey, would it make sense for you to, you know, move too, right?
Mhm.
Or do they know somebody, of course, you know?
Yeah.
But all I can say is we have to play the game different than we played it before,
Mhm.
right? We really have to, you know, charge forward, and I think the people that are charging forward are going to win. You know, the people that lay back and settle in their seat and believe that the market's not the right market to do anything are going to struggle, right? And I got a guy that's been thinking about selling his house for like 2 years, and I had him all dialed in. This week I've talked to him 6 times, and we were supposed to meet at 5 o'clock right after this meeting. And then he said, I couldn't sleep all night, so I'm postponing again, right? He's just not ready, you know. So we just got to be with the people when they're ready, or we just got to make them feel safe, right? If they don't feel safe, they're not going to move. And we got to find a way to make them feel safe.
Yeah, and address the concerns, and you know, get their comfort level where it needs to be. And again, as people that are actually you know, professional agents doing the right thing, it's not about pushing them, right? It's about addressing their concerns. And if you can legitimately get them comfortable, great. And if you really can't, then okay, but stay top of mind for when they do get to that point. You know, that's obviously part of it. You know, another thing too, like, you know, calling an area if you have a buyer and just asking, right? There's no problem with that. You know, what's the worst they're going to tell you is no. But also, how about for people in your sphere or otherwise, you know, unsolicited CMAs, stuff like that? You know, I know that's been a tactic for a long time, but why don't you use current technology on that, right? Plug HomeBot in for folks in your sphere and combine some of these tools, right? If you've got First IO, you know, definitely use that as a way to start contacting people and kind of stack the deck a little bit. But if you're seeing some of those people in First, again, they're in your sphere, you have their information, right? Set them up on HomeBot, have it send them that information. I mean, it's great information for them to just have, but again, it's another way to gauge their interest and start the conversation. What are your thoughts on HomeBot? Anyone's actually using it right now?
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about it? I know I've read a few things, but is it like First, or what's it like?
Yeah, jump in, Nate, if you've got an example in there.
So HomeBot is another tool, and it's what I would call a sticky interactive way to engage with your current client database. So all you do is put in their name and address and email address into the system. And the system has artificial intelligence as well. It goes in and grabs their address and goes through and searches records to find what their mortgage is, and finds out what their mortgage is, finds out what they paid for their mortgage, you know, what was their mortgage amount, what was their interest rate, and then plugs it into the system. So if you were on HomeBot and you're getting a matter of fact, Mike, I should probably put every one of our agents on HomeBot under my account just so they can see it. And it'll show that your house, let's just say your house is worth 500,000. Okay, there we go. Look at that. So
yeah, it's about the.
yes. If you look at this house is 481. I don't know whose house this is, but you can see that pink line, and you can see how over the last, I don't know what that timeline is, Mike. I really can't see it. But
this is January 18 to current, so 3 years.
Okay, so in the last year, right? That's a 12-month window. Now, if you're a consumer and you see that your price has gone up from what to what, Mike, if you hit that first button on the left, if you should be able to click on it.
Yeah, it's $399 here.
Okay, it's gone up almost $100,000 in 1 year. Okay, it shows that they have a net worth on this home of $97,000. So if you scroll down a little bit, Mike, and you stop right there, it just kind of breaks down how much money is going towards interest, how much is going towards principal. If you scroll down, it gives you a tip. In this case, if you paid an extra $200 more a month, you can save $34,000 on your mortgage, right? And it just gives you some other stuff. So every month it's sending you this type of report. And what, even if you're doing a vacation rental with it, it kind of gives you an idea. But you can fine tune this as a homeowner and or as the realtor for their client. You can adjust the price. So if the homeowner thinks his house is worth 500, he can go in there and make an adjustment right now. Okay. Now, the key here is, if Mike, is this one of your homes by any chance?
Yep.
Okay, go in there and just click that right-hand button where it says, yeah, tune that. Yeah, there you go. And so he can take that and he can say, my house was 500 and just draw that over, right? And if he did that and go ahead and hit save, okay, or whatever, okay, he can go ahead and update some data about his house, right? And he can,
Yeah, all these pieces.
stuff. But whatever he does here, it's going to alert you, the agent, right? And now you can see if he goes up to the top where he's changed that right part of that timeline, Mike, right? And now he's at 499. He made that adjustment. On the agent side, you will know that Mike changed his value to 499. You'll also see that he made changes by his bathrooms and bedrooms and updated the system. So the key with HomeBot, and the reason I bought this was, right now Zillow is an enemy, right? We won't get into that, but Zillow's an enemy. I don't want my clients going to Zillow for their value of their home. I want them to be delivered the value of their home from me through the HomeBot system, right? I don't want to be Zillowed, right? And Zillowed means to me is the consumer goes to Zillow to find out what their house is worth. And then they maybe click somewhere. Next thing you know, they're talking to another agent because they start shopping for houses there. And next thing you know, that agent says, I'll show you the house. And they weren't, no harm, no foul, didn't want to bother me. And they went over there and bought the house, right? And they didn't bother me, but the other agent got the commission. The other thing about being Zillowed today, as of today, I guess I've seen the social media talk about Zillow. So Zillow announced that they will buy your house for cash for the Zestimate. So anybody in America can go on to Zillow, and my house is worth $500,000. They'll pay you cash today. So we got to try to get people, away from Zillow, which is going to be a treat. But in my world and my clients, I'm sending them out a HomeBot, and every single month they're getting an update, right? So, again, that's a little bit off the record, but there's going to be some people that want to sell, and they're going to have the same challenge that we're facing today about getting their home sold, which is easy. Finding them a home, which is hard.
Yeah. And again, that's our job though, right? Is to bridge that gap,
Mhm.
and if you can figure out who is interested, then you can start having that open discussion, and so all these tools are the way to kind of harvest and identify those people that have some interest, like Nate was just saying. You see someone playing with the interest there or clicking around some of those buttons or hits that instant offer button that was on there, right? Like all that stuff is going to come to you and you're going to be able to talk about it. And even if they're not playing with it, again, an easy way to follow up, and start a conversation. Oh, have you seen that information? Just thought you might find that interesting with the way the market's going, and ask those questions a little bit. There's no reason not to do that. And that's how you're going to get there, because as soon as there's some kind of interest, that's where you start bringing out your solutions to all those other challenges right now. And if you can bridge that gap, there you go. Like I mentioned, that that agent that went out and very creatively made their own inventory. You can absolutely do that, but not if you're not asking the questions. So that, again, as I said, that's been my biggest takeaway with everyone I've talked to recently is, again, get out of your way. Stop, being limited in what you think is an option out there and just start asking those curious questions. And even if you're like, nah, there's no way anyone would go for that. Well, are you sure? Are you really 100% sure? And again, are you okay with trying it? If you say, okay, we'll list it, we'll put these crazy stipulations in there. Let's see if we get any takers. Like, again, if you otherwise don't have any of that inventory, why not give it a shot?
So Nate, is your at Arrowhead Airbnb, is that booked up? Were you able to use that for some of your buyer sellers type things?
No, because it's been booked since September 1st. I have this year, it's booked all the way through April 26th. I only have 3 days this year that it's vacant.
Wow.
Through the 26th of April. It's bizarre, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be a good idea. Having a rental house to put people in, that would definitely be a good idea. But not everybody has an extra rental for every buyer that they sell, you know.
Right.
But it could help having a vacant rental ready to go.
Well, and think about that too. Not that, again, this is going to be a great solution for everyone, but we're talking about being creative here, right? So how about if they list their home and you get enough additional cash out of it that they can basically take a month-long vacation at an Airbnb of their choice. And maybe it's still here in town, they go to work like usual or whatever. But maybe that's an interesting bridge option. So they're not necessarily moving twice, right? They're moving their stuff to, a pod or whatever, and they can just enjoy a vacation rental while they're shopping and then move into whatever the other home is, right? I mean, why not put it out there? There's might be someone that's really excited about that idea,
You can always buy an RV and put it in an RV park too. Right?
Well, at the end of the day, having conversations with your seller and just going through all the emotion and all their fear to find out exactly what is their stop is so important, right? The old adage, I don't know what you're praying for until you tell me what you're praying for, right? I can't answer your prayers, right? So if somebody, and people do not move based out of fear, right? They're comfortable. It's easier to do nothing than to try to go out into this marketplace of uncertainty. It's our job as realtors to try to find certainty, try to show them certainty, whatever certainty is for them. But it really starts off with us really understanding what the consumer wants, what our client wants. And then we can try to go out and find that for them, right? For me, in a very simple thing, if you have somebody that wants to move and you put their house on the market, there's a good chance that there's going to be multiple offers. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's going to be multiple offers.
Correct.
And the video I recorded for the email that goes out today, I talk a little bit about that. It's like you have to understand what the seller wants on the house that you're writing a contract on, right? Because if you know what they want and you can serve it up to them in a nice shiny plate, and the plate is your offer that tells them, yeah, you can move out on this date and this is your price, or we can close early and you can rent back for 30 days, whatever it might be. The more you know about what the client wants, and if you can find a way to deliver that to them, then there's probably not going to be no objection, right? It's just going through and understanding, right? I think the key to everything that we're doing in real estate today is ask more questions and really understand what the client wants. Maybe one of you can tell me an objection that you have, and maybe let's see if I can help. Anybody? Bueller?
Mueller.
You said a judgment?
Objection.
Objection.
No, objection. Oh, objection.
I mean, every day we have a client that's not moving forward for some reason. I try to go out of my way to make sure that my clients I understand what their challenges are. What is their stop? Why aren't they moving forward? And then try to move them to that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and here's another item on that, right? If you guys aren't having enough listing objections to be able to throw something out there, or okay, if every single one you've heard is what we just talked about, right? Which is where do I move to? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it means you're not talking to enough people about listing, right? If you're not getting no's so that you don't have a bunch of objections to bring out on a call like this, probably should be talking to more people and ask them if they want to sell. I mean, if you need the inventory, right? So I'll throw this out there too. Again, kind of back to basics in some ways, but remember folks, even in a market like this, or sometimes especially in a market like this, a lot of the other agents aren't like you, right? They are not going out and like going the extra mile for people. So, you know, let's say that there was a home that was just perfect for your client, but you know, you just missed it, right? It just went pending 2 days ago or whatever the case may be, or just closed. You know, use that data, canvas that neighborhood. If the house that would have been just right for them closed, now it's public data, right? You know the price it sold at, hit all the houses on that street. Hey, got someone again, it's a legitimate buyer. Hey, I've got someone looking in this neighborhood, you know, this house right here just sold for this amount. Interested in moving? Do you know anyone who is? You know, have those discussions. You know, the other people probably aren't taking advantage of, you know, their listings, coming soons, closing, stuff like that, because they're just scrambling and rotating through them. No reason you can't go out and take advantage of it.
Okay, I'd like to sell my house, but I have a tenant living in there.
Okay, great. That's easy. Okay. So Susan,
Can we get him out? Can we get him out?
you don't need to get them out. An investor in mind ready to buy that house with a tenant occupied person in there. Or there's somebody that'll buy that house with the tenant finish out their guy right here in Vistancia that is renting the house $650,000. I know his lease ends at May 31st. You know, I have a coming soon getting ready to come on the market. We're going to leave it coming soon for about 30 days. And as the agents call me to want to show this house, I'm going to, you know, it's going to be in MLS also. It's going to state that this tenant cannot move out till May 31st. There's going to be somebody buy this house, bottom line, and either have a later close or allow the tenant to fulfill their occupancy. And
then what if the tenants don't want to have the people come in because of COVID?
well, you have the right, as the Landlord Tenant Act to give 24-hour notice to access the property.
48. Yeah. 48.
48, it doesn't matter, right? 48.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, address their concern, have people come in safely, right?
I got a house in Arrowhead Lakes that we signed the paperwork yesterday. It's another one, tenant occupied. And here's what I told my seller. I go, first of all, these people are pigs. We were in there the other day, right? I mean, they're not really pigs, but they knew the owner was coming and the realtor was coming, and it was definitely not show ready. And both husband and wife are working from home. There's a office set up in the dining room. There's an office set up in the master bedroom. And it doesn't look good, you know. But I'm not going to guarantee you, but I tell you, we're going to go coming soon on the market, probably around Monday or so. I'll have that house sold and under contract before the following Monday. I would pretty much guarantee it. And the person that's buying the house is going to let the tenant stay there until the end of their tenancy. All right. Now, what I told my client, because they were not the cleanest people, I said, you need to offer them a staycation at a hotel somewhere, right? Send them to the Phoenician, send them to someplace and give them a weekend, and let's hire a cleaning crew to go in on Saturday morning and clean that house, and let's get somebody to come in and do photos, and then the next day let's do open house, right? And pretty much, I think if we got through that weekend, on Monday, I would have multiple offers, right? And again, you got to give something to the tenant. Another thing that what I found to be helpful is for the seller to give the tenant some cash. Hey, you help me sell the house, I'll give you $2,000, or I'll give you $1,000, or whatever it is, right? I mean, if the seller can sell his house right now for probably $50,000 to $100,000 more than it was worth when the tenant moved in, they have extra money to give the tenant an incentive to clean this place up, to show the property, right? And again, I mean, Susan, I understand there's people that are fearful with COVID. I understand that, right? And that's why you can wear a mask, you can wear gloves, you can wear booties, you can put some restrictions on anybody coming in the house. But I also know there's probably more people that are using COVID as an excuse, right? I believe in COVID. I know it's a real deal. I've had it. My mom died from it. It's very real to me. But there's a lot of people that just will, especially tenants, will do anything to keep you from invading their space. They don't want to move.
So how long can you keep the house coming soon?
Shannon, I'm going to tell you 30 days.
Sorry, 30 days.
30 days. 30
It
days.
is 30 days, yes.
Yeah.
And do you have to have just all the pictures in the MLS, or just like an outside picture?
Well, I'm going to have pictures, right?
And coming soon doesn't require a photo, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It doesn't require that front photo until you make it active.
Right. Now, just so you know, when you put a house in coming soon, and if you don't do something to showing time to turn off showings, people will start setting showing appointments when it's coming soon. I didn't even know that was possible until I got bombarded with showing appointments, right? So now, again, using showing time as a tool, not showing time, excuse me, coming soon as a tool, you have to be very careful and follow the rules, the clear cooperation rules that are set forward. But it has got to be probably the best thing going on right now. It's the system I'm using, and we put a house on the market we can put the house on the market Thursday or Friday, it doesn't matter. Move it from active to active from coming soon. And we restrict showings until Saturday and Sunday. Like I have a 75-year-old plus family, and they were worried about it. So I had them move out for the weekend. And so we had showing restrictions so that we can get more activity on the house. And on Saturday, we had open house for only 4 hours, but we had showings start first thing in the morning till sunset on both Saturday and Sunday. And on Monday, we reviewed offers and we sold the house for way above list price, multiple offers, right? It doesn't take long, but the key by doing it that way, this year, the first 30 days of this year, every house I listed sold before it hit the market. And my team got 0 buyer leads. By doing the coming soon, the open houses on Saturday and Sunday, it did several things. It gave the seller a little peace that an offer just didn't keep coming at them, right? We can talk at 5 o'clock on Monday if that was the time and go over all the offers, okay? It gave me some peace and gave Christine some peace that we didn't have to jump every time an offer came in to do, to stop what we're doing and try to present and so forth. And that was really peaceful for us, right? And again, it helped the seller get a higher price. And my buyer's agents team, we're averaging about 50 leads a weekend from the open houses we're doing, because there's that much, right?
demand.
Demand.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, right, that feeds into everything else too. Like the more of those legitimate buyers you have out there, the more places they're looking, the more questions you have to ask other people about if they're willing to sell, right? I mean, like again, it's synergistic.
The house we had, the house I just told you about in Arrowhead Lakes that we're listing, that has a tenant, is 3 doors down from the house we did the open house last weekend, right? He goes, wow, can you do that for me? I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Got the appointment, met him, walked the house. Yes, we can do that. So that's what people were going to put out into to the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn for a weekend, right? Kyle, you got to smile, man. Come on. I'm trying to make you smile. There you go. I'm going to start rapping for you here in a minute. But we have to just understand that we have to make it work. We got to think outside the box. We have to be, we just got to want it, right? You got to want to make it happen for somebody.
So are postcards still happening?
Postcards still happening? They can, you know. It's, you know what's interesting? We were doing a photo shoot last night for that listing that Roberta was asking about, all right? And I was talking to my photographer. He goes, you're like one of the only guys that are still doing video and photos and everything, right? And he says all the other photographers are calling him and saying, hey, are you busy? Because everybody's just doing iPhone photos and kind of going on the cheap, right? I'm still going full bore and doing the entire marketing campaign, even though it's quasi a waste of money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really think on what that stuff is, for me, it's collateral, right? If you call on my listing that's going to sell in 3 days and it's not on the market yet, and you call and you say, hey, ma'am, I drove by this house, or, you know, I saw it on Zillow, or whatever they might have, whatever they're calling about. I use it as a tie down, right? So it's like, so Kyle, you're calling on my listing, right? And you just want information, you want price, you want bedrooms like everybody does. And I can say, hey, you know, we just got a video done on the house. Can I send it out to you? And Kyle goes, yeah. And so I already have Kyle's name and I already have his phone number because we were talking on the phone. He called me. But what I don't have with Kyle is his email address. And it's so interesting, and it works all the time. So Kyle, I'll send you this video. Would you like to see it? Yeah, I'd like to see it. All right, what's your email address? All right. So now Kyle goes into my database with his name, phone number, and email. And Kyle, do you need to sell your house before you buy it? Yeah, I do. All of a sudden, Kyle starts to see the collateral that I'm sending him with the really nice video. Or if I don't have video, I'm going to send him a link to my professional photography. Or if I have a Matterport, I'm going to send them a link to my Matterport, right? Or if all three of those assets are done, I'm going to send an email with all three, right? I want to show people that I got the collateral. I know how to market a house. And that's how we get people to buy from us or sell with us, is because we deliver information to them quickly, right? So Susan, postcards, I mean, we'll probably do less of them right now because, you know, unless my client wants to wait the way I do them, wants to wait about 15 days to go on the market, it's about what it takes to get the photos done, to get the design work done, to get them printed, to get them mailed, right, out to the people, right? And if people have that timeline, like they say, hey, Nate, like I got a house that's going on the market, what's today, right? We have open houses tomorrow and Sunday. I've had this house listed for about, I don't know, 26 days. In that time, we did the photos, the video, the Matterport, and, you know, it's going to be open tomorrow and Sunday. It will be sold by Monday, I guarantee you. But she had the bandwidth to do that, right? She wasn't in a hurry. She's building a house. And there's somebody that's building a brand new house that's going to move into another house, but she knows, I mean, her realtor told her there's no better time to list it than now. And you know, depending on the people, right? If you have family and kids and dogs, it's a little harder. But like this lady's a single woman. She found a girlfriend to move into for the next 6 months while she builds her house down in Pebble Creek, right? And originally she didn't want to put it on the market close till September. But I kept telling her, I was like, hey, I don't know. The market's hot right now. I don't know what it's going to be like in September, you know. And luckily she found a place to go. And it surprised me because I really thought we weren't going to do anything. And I thought we would do like a pocket listing of some sort. And if I found somebody, some Canadian that wanted to buy but wasn't going to come back till next year and they can rent back, that would be great. You know, that it's in Trilogy, so it's a retirement community. But you just got to find out what they want, right? And constantly stay in contact with them.
Yeah, again, curiosity, right? You know, just keep asking questions, keep working on the comfort level, and eventually it's going to get there. And don't be shy about asking people that are outside your sphere or in your sphere that you haven't approached. You know, you're providing information, you're providing a service, you know, get out of your own way on that.
All right.
Hey, Tom. Let me try to mute him. Okay, I got him.
So we've been chatting about some of these items for about an hour here, and hopefully there's some stuff that kind of, you know, changed perception a little bit, or maybe gave you some other ideas. I'd love to hear, you know, any particular takeaways about what we've gone over at this point. Anything that kind of made you have a little bit of a light bulb, or anything that you're going to commit to doing that's a little bit outside what you were doing before? Tell us, what are some of those things?
I'm
Back
gonna
to
use-
the old, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
Just back to calling people, getting in touch.
I'm gonna do the coming soon.
Cool.
Now I'm also gonna put postcards too of the ones that I've sold. Say it's sold in 3 days. I could do it with yours for blah, not much over market value.
And
And
remember,
I know that there's companies that'll deliver them, hand deliver instead of, you know, just all over.
And remember, if your target is to generate listings, you might consider, you know, careful with your language, of course, but you might consider putting on some of these creative things we just talked about, right? Like it's, you know, it's a huge seller's market. Like, do you need to stay in your home for 90 days? I mean, like you find a way to express that appropriately, right? But like put some of that stuff on there, like handle those potential objections that we're all hearing up front. Like there's lots of ways that we can structure those for you if it's something you're interested in, right? Anyone else got some feedback or some other ideas, or you've remembered another objection that was a challenge for you?
It's a Friday afternoon blues is what it is.
Well, that's okay. But hey, it's been good discussion. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully, you know, this does have some other ideas and other things out there. And I would love to hear if you guys go out and, you know, put one of these into play, or if you have that curiosity conversation that turns into something, right? Because you got out of your own way and you just started talking to someone and throwing stuff out there and seeing what sticks. I would love if you jump back and, you know, share those successes with us. I think that's what's so inspiring for a lot of other people when, you know, they hear like, okay, yeah, I would have never thought to try that. Seems like it was nuts, but it came together beautifully given the current circumstances. That's the kind of stuff I think that helps motivate others as well. And again, it gives us all more ideas. So please come on back and keep communicating that. We'll put this up on Inner Circle as well, so that, you know, again, you can look for that, maybe continue some discussion there, especially if you have some wins. Cool.
Yeah, don't be shy is the key, right? I mean, it's the key is right now is it's a whole new world. And if you are the one that's going to blaze the trail, it's up to you. You just have to go out there and try things, right? I would go back and find every listing appointment you went on in the last year or two that did not list and call them. Because crazy things are happening, right? And I'm going to close with this, and I got to walk down to my neighbor's house, I pick up a key. But I listed a house, let's call it 2 years ago. And in 6 months, it did not sell. I listed this house for, I think, about 900,000 in Trilogy. And by the time the end of the listing, it was 650. It did not sell. I'm not, excuse me, not 650, 850. It's a big price change, right? So 900, 850 over 6 months did not sell. We put it in property management inside Remax Professionals. I think it was in property management for 18 months. The tenant moved out, put it back on the market, did exactly what I told you a minute ago. Saturday open, Sunday open, Monday contract acceptance. We sold the house. Hold on to your seat for $94,000 over list price cash. Right? We listed at the same price that we couldn't sell it for before, and we got 94,000 above list price. And we had a second one that was about 90,000 above list price. What happens in there, because they were kind of going up and forth, they're fighting each other, right, to get to the top. And the guy that wins, probably he went to sleep that night and woke up the next morning and goes, man, what the hell did I do? And canceled the contract. And here's his cancellation, Shannon. It's property in Trilogy. They said they read the CC&Rs, right? In 24 hours. It wasn't even 24 hours, right? It was
I
like
saw this one.
yeah, 6 o'clock at night till like 8 o'clock in the morning. They read the CCRs, and they read on line 3.2 of the CCRs that you cannot smoke outside by the pool. And I'm not too sure you can smoke by any pool anywhere anymore, since the laws of smoking were out there. And the fines were undetermined. So that's why they were canceling. And it was only because the guy woke up and said, holy shit, I'm 94,000 above list price. So he got buyer's remorse, right? Backup offers are the key. If I didn't have that backup offer for $4,000 less, we would have to go back on the market at 850. And maybe we would have sold it somewhere between 850 and 9. But because I had the solid backup offer, I encourage backup offers. Last tip, because I keep coming up with them. Last tip, write a backup offer on any house that you don't get accepted. That same thing happens. People get remorse. They might have put 2 or 3 offers on 2 or 3 other houses, and maybe another house came up. Or the perfect house came up and they wrote an offer on that while it was in escrow with the other one and got it accepted. So they cancel for some reason and that house comes back. There's a lot of cancellations out there, guys. The best way to win an offer is to be a backup offer if somebody falls out.
Yep, I've heard a ton of that from other agents too, saying that they've got their clients in as a second or third position on something, and they just like left it out there and they continue doing what they were doing, but then it came back. And again, and also their clients were thrilled too, right? So yeah, plenty of ways to win.
Yeah.
Where are your cash buyers from on those?
Pardon me? Where were they from?
Yeah, California or somewhere else or local?
Peoria.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of cash offers out of California, Seattle, and Oregon.
Yeah.
Right.
And when we write offers that we're not getting any kind of a counter back, like I'll normally multiple counter to 3, the top ones, and change what I need. But we're seeing on offers we write, no one's even countering back. But we lost one the other day in North Phoenix, 70,000 over list of a California buyer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was only a $400,000 listing.
Well, I mean, I have a lady that lives here in Blackstone that we're talking about listing her house. She's a transaction coordinator. They moved from California to this house 6-7 months ago, realized they don't like the house. She showed me one of her contracts that went on the market in California, Los Angeles kind of general area. It was listed for 1.7. It sold over the weekend for 2.1, 400,000 above list, no appraisal contingency. You know what I mean? So one of those sellers, they get a sell like that. They come over here. They don't care, right? they got to pay an extra 100. They just made 300, above list. It's hard to compete. I did take some time this morning and I created a video on the buy side of this. I would encourage you guys to watch that video and maybe watch it a couple times, because I think there's some gold in there on how to try, right? We have to be very, I don't want surgical, if you will. We got to go in there and become the listing agent's friend before we even write the offer, before we even show the house and start building a relationship. Shannon kind of gave me a tip on this yesterday, and I just kind of noodled on it a little bit. There, you can just go through as a buyer's agent. Tom, I'm going to call you and say, hey, Tom, I got a buyer that's very interested in your new listing that you have up in Stetson Hills. We're going to show it today at 5 o'clock. Is there, I'm going to ask Tom all kinds of questions. What is your seller's goal? When do they want to move? What's important to the seller? And I'm going to get all that information. I'm going to read Tom's listing. I'm going to read the MLS from top to bottom. I'm going to go to the document section. I'm going to print out the documents. I'm going to read them. I'm going to look for all the clues. If there's a seller property disclosure in there, I'm going to have my client sign it. If there's the HOA document in there, of course, I'm going to have them sign it. So when I come back with my offer, it's about as close to what the buyer or the seller wants, other than price, right? It's, I want to bid. Nate Brill, who used to work with us, I beat out a cash offer with a financed offer by talking to Nate Brill and telling him my clients need to be in this neighborhood. I told him why. It's not a fair housing issue, but I'm selling my client, right? And I told them, look, they're getting up in age. Their daughter lives in the neighborhood. We've sold their house. This is not contingent. And they were putting a large down payment. And Nate came back to me and goes, Nate, he goes, what do you want me to do? I got a cash buyer. And I said, Nate, they're both cash. At the end of the day, your client's going to get the money, right? It doesn't matter if it's a finance. I mean, their loan is done, and at dinner that night, when the call came back from Nate and he said, we're going with your offer, I literally just had tears come out of my eyes because I couldn't believe it, right? And, these people were working with another realtor for, I don't know, several months, wrote 3 or 4 offers, couldn't get accepted. The first one we got it done, right? So it was building a relationship and talking to Nate and telling my story, a couple weeks ago, I did one of the videos about writing a resume about who you are. Everybody on this call is a stud. Every one of you are an amazing human being. Some of us been around a long time, right? So we have a lot of accolades that we can say. So create a resume about you. There's nothing wrong with fair housing about us writing a letter about us on what we do and how we bring professionalism to the table to make sure that let them know that we're a full-time agent, and they won't have any problems with us, so, but it's hard, Tom. Shit. You can't beat, Tanya had an offer, 52 offers were on the house and it went for $70,000 over to a cash buyer from California, right? I mean, there was one winner and 51 losers, It's I don't know. We just got to keep our heads up and keep going,